Well, hello and welcome to today's episode of the Power of Your Mind podcast. You're listening to episode number 184. I'm Victoria Gallagher, Law of Attraction hypnotist and #1 best-selling author of Practical Law of Attraction. Align yourself with the manifesting conditions and successfully attract your desires. I'm also the founder of HipTalk.com and HypnoCloud apps, which gives you access to over 500 hypnosis recordings right in the palm of your hand. So be sure to download that app from the app stores today. And today I have a very special guest with me, Emily Ransone. Emily Ransone loves to say she is enjoying a very multifaceted career these days as a business owner, EOS Implementer, business coach, peer group facilitator with 12 Mavens, published author, sought after speaker, and workshop facilitator, and active community volunteer. Emily has developed a passion for helping clients, friends, and colleagues get more of what they want out of life. And she's also written a wonderful book called Growth Junkies Unite. And you can find out more about that on growthjunkiesunite.com. And today, Emily is going to be sharing some of her insights on Growth Junkies Unite. And so welcome to the show, Emily.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here, Victoria. Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, it's an honor to have you. You have such an amazing, so many amazing things that you've done. And I'm really, really excited to dive in and learn more about your story and, learn a little bit more about the growth junkies and why it's important and why you like being a growth junkie. I love that term, actually. I'm kind of a growth junkie myself.
It's catchy. It's definitely catchy. We're going to have some fun on this one. So yeah.
Most definitely. So why don't we just dive right in and tell us a little bit about your background and your story, and let's just find out a little bit more about how you developed this growth junkies community.
Yeah, it's so catchy, right? But it's true. If you think about it, we're at either one end of the stick or the other. You're either growing or dying. And so I'd rather be at the growth end of that stick. And so, if you choose to kind of see things as growth opportunities rather than have the mindset of problems and challenges, then you'll enter into it really with more of an abundance mentality of problem solving. And so it harnesses a different part of your brain. This is about the power of your brain. There you go, right out of the gate here.
Absolutely.
And so I think this is something that we humans, we can develop this. It's a muscle that you can build. It's not something that you're either born with or, don't have or don't have. It's something you can choose to develop. The challenge is a lot of us, it takes courage and bravery. So sometimes it's just easier to go with the knee-jerk reaction rather than taking a step back and choosing either a better feeling thought or a better feeling way of communicating with others that gets you to this growth mode that I'm talking about here. So here's my book, Growth Junkies Unite.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
Oh, thank you. It's very much meant to be kind of a Zen statement because, we've got a Karen sitting here right on the cover that really evokes kind of the wayfinding on your journey, right? Because you never get there. That's the whole point. It's a journey. You never fully arrive. So we're always learning. We all have the chance to keep growing. And so this is the wayfinding that I want to offer to people. And it's a simple yet very effective guide to just invigorate your journey. And it's really meant for those of us that go through burnout, because let's face it, we go through these peaks and valleys, and those that are just getting started on their learning journey. And I'm very self-taught. I love these podcasts like yours, Victoria, because I'm a seeker. I'm this growth junkie. And I feel like the information is there. It's ready for us to grab onto. And so I've always kind of taken that approach. And, you can go get your MBA in school, but this is a real life approach that you offer here to your listeners. Same thing with my book, Growth Junkies Unite. It's the same kind of approach. And so some of it is just these tips and tricks that many of us know, but this really is like the Cliff's Notes version or the Reader's Digest version and bringing it all into one simple, effective guide. And for me, it was born out of that place of needing to reinvigorate myself. And so this was part of my own journey. And, we've all been there. So to back up a little bit and give a little bit of my background here, I've spent, 20, 30 years in corporate America in different forms and fashions. So 14 years in bigger size companies, and then realized that really more the entrepreneurial small, medium business mode was a better fit for me. And so I was tapped on the shoulder to run a business in the Southwest. It was a $13 million office furniture dealership. And I will be forever grateful for that experience, because it was really a chance to cut my teeth and figure out what get on the path towards what I love to do and invest at. And I feel like these steps in our lives, especially if we create this path of intention and growth, really leads us towards that more and more. You get the chance to choose it along the way. And so my next choice was the chance to buy in as an owner of a $50-60 million office furniture dealership in the Bay Area. And my two business partners and I we're kind of this form of a one Rubik's Cube, yin and yang ball that just makes sense. And we just get each other. And, we realized very early in our journey together running a business that we really needed a way to think about running the business more systematically, to come up with a vision about where we wanted to go and how we wanted to get there. And luckily at that time, I found a set of tools and principles and a framework called EOS, which is the Entrepreneurial Operating System.
Ooh, I love it.
That sounds really fancy, but yes. It's kind of like your cell phone. I mean, you've got an iOS on your cell phone. It's the same kind of application where, this is how to run a better business and frankly, live a better life. Because, a lot of us deal with the frustrations of feeling like we're out of control. That, whether we're a solopreneur or running a small, medium business, or, we're an individual contributor on a team, we feel like our lives are being run by external forces, right? That we're out of control. And so what this does is this system, these tools, these principles put you back in that fulcrum of control. It makes you feel like you're getting off that hamster on a treadmill feeling. And so for my two partners and me, this was really the crux. This was the T point in the journey where we harnessed this power to do tremendous things with our work. And so we changed our business model. I liken it to flying, say, a 747, and while you're doing that, change it into your Dreamliner. So literally changing the business model of the airplane. And so now we've worked our business into this really dynamic direct to consumer model. And you've seen that on the retail side, but nobody's been doing it on the business side, the B2B side of things. And so we're doing that in the office furniture space and saving clients 30-40% on furniture, and also saving them time and effort. So it's been really good for us in terms of running a better business and coming together and having a healthy team. Now you fold that into our coach that helped us on our journey with our EOS implementation, kept after me saying, Emily, obviously you're very passionate about this. And so a couple of years ago, I formalized that with certification training and became an EOS implementer for other small, medium, family-owned businesses to help them run better businesses. So I feel like, thanks to EOS, I've been able to carve out all these things in my career that I really love to do, that feed my soul, that make me feel like I'm contributing with purpose to the betterment of my community and to those of us that are struggling. And so, I have different facets of how I do that, different conduits for how I deliver that. One is by solving clients' problems with getting their furniture faster and cheaper. The second one is by teaching owners and business leaders how to run a better business. Another one is facilitating peer groups for 12 Mavens so that I can help with this brain trust of sharing best practices. And then, obviously we've got Growth Junkies Unite. So, that's really heading out more to the masses. And for me, it just, this kind of work lights me up. It gives me such energy and vibrancy because it's what we all look for, this sense of purpose, right? It's Simon Sinek's "What's Your Why?" Yeah. So that's a little bit about my background and why I kind of jokingly say I have this multifaceted career, because it's true. It's a gig economy, and I love all these things. If you were to tell me that I have to be stuck in like a normal 8 to 5 Monday through Friday routine, that's where I die on the vine. So this is, kind of the inspiration that keeps me going, keeps me invigorated.
I love your story, and I love
There's a
the
lot to it.
EOS.
So thank you for letting me go down
Yes.
the rabbit hole here.
Yeah, no, it's a great story. And I do definitely see the multifaceted business person in there. And, and I love it. And the other thing I love that I really resonated with what you said was, if you're not growing, you're dying. And I mean,
Yes.
there's no stagnant, there's nothing in between. And it was just so funny when you said that. I'm like literally in the middle of editing a video that I recorded last week that where I said those exact words. So
Fascinating.
yes, we're definitely on the same wavelength here when it comes to that. And I love that so you not only have created this EOS, but you're also helping other people to implement that for other
Yes.
businesses.
Yes. And I feel like, that's really where the rubber meets the road. If you can't apply these principles and tools, whether it's from your other folks that you've interviewed on your podcast, you've got to be able to apply this stuff. And so, the workshops that I give are really application based. They're really, taking it from concepts, and now how can you make it actionable? How can you apply it in your life? And to me, that's where that muscle memory builds.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, that's why I find it to be important. It's one thing to kind of talk about things esoterically. It's a whole nother ballgame when you can actually put it in action in your life that helps you grow. Right.
Yeah.
So that's what it's about.
Awesome. So you talk about resiliency in your book. Can you tell us a little bit about how you have developed that resiliency?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing about resiliency that's so important is that if we are stuck in like I said before, the reaction model, it causes a lot of stress. It puts you in fight or flight, right? And if you can hone this muscle of resiliency, what it means is that, we all go through growing pains. We're like kids. Kids don't just grow in like a straight line, right? They go through growing pains. That's why we call it that. Same with all of us, whether it's in a business sense or in a personal sense or in conflict, whatever it is, whatever that challenge is. If you can create this ability to build resiliency for yourself, it means that you're going to move through these points of inflection that can be harnessed for growth without the chaos and the emotionality and the stress. And so it's one of the foundations right out of the gate that I learned, on my EOS journey. I used to sweat decisions. Oh my gosh. Every decision was a huge decision. And, I was always looking at obviously the pros and cons of it from a rational standpoint, but it would just chew me up inside. And so one of the things that I really appreciate about my personal EOS journey in running a business is that it really gave me the tools and the stamina to look at things from a different vantage point, so that I didn't have to get emotionally hijacked anytime something would come up in our business. And, the same type of rules can apply over on the personal side. And so literally in the book, I go through bullet points of tips and tricks of what you can do to build that resiliency muscle for yourself. And, EOS calls it the 5 leadership abilities. And one of them that is my favorite is to think about things in the most simple way possible. We tend to want to make things complex and globalize and kind of overdo it. And we get really dramatic about it and add a bunch of emotion and think like 10 steps ahead about all the bad things that could happen. If you can compartmentalize, like instead of eating the entire elephant in one sitting, if you can just choose to, take a bite of the trunk and then maybe, eat the ear. And what I'm saying is that
chunk it down basically.
Yes, exactly. Compartmentalize it. And EOS says less is more, that the simplest answer is usually the best place to start. And so that for me really put me on a great catalyst point for this resiliency journey that I went on. So, that's just one of the tips and tricks I can offer you there. That's in the book.
Yes. It's so important to develop resiliency when you are a business person, when you're a business owner, because I mean, you are going to get knocked down sometimes,
Yes.
and more than once. And
Yes.
if you're going to be on this journey for decades, it's going to, it's going to happen.
Well, and it's the power of your mind. Again, this is a choice. This is an active choice that you have to choose to make. And many, because they don't have the emotional intelligence built, operate out of kind of their past limitations and knee-jerk reacting, like I said. And so you do have to be conscious and make a choice and use the power of your mind. So this is right on with your mojo. So we fit together really well here.
Yes, most definitely. So tell us a little bit about being a growth junkie. Why are you a growth junkie?
Yeah, I think the most important thing about it is that, if you think about your life's journey and your life's work and what it's going to mean for you, whether, it's your family and your closest connections, what that means to you, don't you want to have those powerful connections mean something? So it's more than just your career. It's more than just being a growth junkie as it relates to, like we were saying, running a business and building resiliency. This is all encompassing. And, for me, it's a chance to, start with awareness. That is your superpower. If you don't know that, your superpower is self-awareness, right? That's the first step on this journey. And so if you can start with that, then so much more unfolds for you. There's new avenues, new ways of communicating, new ways of thinking, again, harnessing the power of your mind. There's new things that will open up, but you've got to start with that opportunity of awareness. And so the very first thing I hit on in my book is accountability. Because if truly, if you are doing what you say you're going to do, that is the foundation for creating this opportunity for self-awareness, right? Because you've got to have some tough conversations with yourself about how you're showing up. And sometimes that can be tough. You've got to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, this is what I'm doing well, and this is where I need to grow. And, some people want to shy away from that. I get it. It takes courage and bravery, but enter the danger, do it anyway, because the journey is worth it. It gets easier on the other side. It's just hard when you're getting going.
Yeah, I harp on that all the time. I mean, accountability is so important with yourself and with others, because I mean, if you are not doing really success, I think of it, success is really simple. It's very simple. It's a matter of, figuring out exactly what steps you need to take to go from A to Z. But then the hard part, for people is actually just following through with what they say they're going to do. And
100%. And it starts with yourself. Sometimes we break agreements with ourselves. I love Mel Robbins' 5-second rule. If you're not familiar with it, I highly recommend that, because she says the lizard brain's going to take over. You're going to talk yourself out of it in those first 5 seconds. So literally 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Like, just do it. If you have that impulse, if there's something driving you, just hop to it. And that really resonates for me.
Yeah. And some of the best decisions ever were made in just the quickest little snap. It's like, just do it.
Right. The best habits start off that way. You can talk yourself out of that new exercise routine or the healthy eating habits and all those sorts of things. Whereas if you apply Mel Robbins' 5-second rule, you just got to get out of bed in the morning. You just got to put 2 feet out, and step on the ground.
Oh my God, you almost sounded like her in that moment.
I could hear her Brene Brown, and I love Brene Brown. I'm a fellow Texan, so that just lights me up. So yeah, I love that straight shooting kind of talk. It's good.
I do too. I do. Well, it's, because that's what's going to get you where you want to be. I mean, just, being sometimes being a little too soft, and not, it's not that, you don't want to beat yourself up. You have to have like a happy medium, but having that straight talk with yourself and being honest and just kind of cutting through all the BS,
Noise.
your own BS.
Yeah, for sure. I 100% agree. It definitely starts with being honest with yourself before you can, try to go on that journey with others. And sometimes it does take asking others for input. How do you see me? How am I showing up? So get a buddy system. That's what I say. Get an accountability junkie buddy system going.
An accountability buddy.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. So yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about what listeners can get from reading your book, Growth Junkies Unite.
Sure. The next section in the book after accountability is on emotional intelligence. And I speak a lot about this, and I do a lot of workshops. One of them called Social Styles. That's really fascinating because, again, 75% of the world out there is not one of your four social styles types out there. Your primary social style type. 75% of the people out there aren't a match. So that's why it feels like friction and conflict and things like that. For the most powerful, cross-functional, high-performing teams that I've worked with, it's because they have all four of these social styles well represented, and they're also able to come together in the spirit of understanding each other and move to the same side of the table, if you will, to get more out of that exchange or, running that project, whatever that might be. And so to me, again, this is about harnessing your superpower because you have to start with self-awareness, right? And so if you take one of these four, it's driver, expressive, amiable, analytical. Those are the four types. And so, for example, if I'm a driver, I'm going to be fast to the point, and I'm going to say, I need this done by 5 o'clock. Well, the amiable's dying inside because, that's very abrasive for them. They want to be able to kind of make sure the team feels good, like they're the glue for the team, and so it's interesting to see how these dynamics show up, not only in the workplace, but also in your personal life. So I always say, do the assessment. And if you want the free assessment, please just reach out and contact me. The assessment is good in both your career and in your personal life. It's kind of interesting how that works out, but you need all four on a well-functioning team. You need the expressive that's going to help you galvanize the team and cast a vision and get everybody excited. You need the amiable that's sure we're all feeling good while we're on the journey. You need the analytical that's going to look out for the different roadblocks along the way and make sure that we're thinking through steps A through Z with clarity. And then you need the driver that's like the get stuff done person, the one that's like driving to the results. So it's really critical that all four of these are represented. And so this is something I hit on in the book quite a bit because it's really, really powerful. And it's one of the few assessments I've found that not only looks at the individual, but at the group dynamic, and that is to me where the communication is really needed. That's why we have so much conflict in the workplace, right? And then the last section, it's so true. And the last section of the book, so it's kind of divided in three: accountability, emotional intelligence, right? And then the last one is servant leadership. And the reason why I call it servant leadership is this is a not a new term necessarily, but I like it because what it means is the feeling of serving for the greater good. Sometimes leadership can have some ego involved with it, right? And so the idea here is that figure out what drives you and gives you energy and lights you up, and then go out and do that in your community, right? So for me, it's offering these free workshops for nonprofits and different types of organizations where I feel like I can help people come together as, work teams or as organizations. It's doing things like serving on Rebuilding Together, on a nonprofit board that, we help keep people safe in their homes. And so these things are really, as I got clear through my growth journey as to what servant leadership meant to me, it's really about finding that purpose, right? And that's really what we're here. We're here to serve each other. We're here to support each other, right?
Yes.
So get clear on that. And that's what the last section of the book about. And then there's also a lot of tips and tricks about, I'm a driver, like I already said that. So the book is a lot of bullet points. I mean, it's literally like the condensed version of all this different source material that I've been reading over the past 20, 30 years of my career. And I even give anyone that orders the book a free toolkit of all that source material, like my top TED Talks and all those sorts of things. Because again, if you try to Google growth, there's like 1 billion hits out there on Google. So you got to cull through the noise to get down to what is the best source material that really matters. And that's why I really wanted to put a book together that, kind of helped people kind of bring it together, so to speak, condense it down.
That is great. No, it sounds like it really is a compact personal growth MBA in a way, it's like,
it's your real life MBA. That's what I call it. It is your real life MBA. You can choose to be self-taught. The information is out there. You just got to grab onto it and make a commitment that this is what you want for yourself.
Yeah.
And again, that's where the fun happens. That's where you get in the flow of life. If we're talking about the work, Victoria, that you do, this is exactly like so many of us feel like we're paddling upstream and we're forced against the current. If you can do the things that I'm kind of talking about in this book and that we've been talking about on this podcast, life gets easier.
It really does. Well, especially I could really relate to what you were talking about with the different groups of personality styles. I remember the first time I learned that it was in a seminar. They had different names for each of these. They had, it was the controller, the analyst, the promoter, and the supporter. And, and so you can very easily understand how, if you understood the personality styles and what each of them wants, like you are going to be talking about in your book, and how to communicate with them, because, if I communicate to a supporter, like they're an amiable, like they're a driver. Okay. They're not, it's going to be lost on them.
You think you're singing an opera and somebody else is hearing a rap song. So, it's like, you're not meeting. So yeah, I think that's the important thing, is that, we think we're being crystal clear, and many times, we haven't checked for what someone has actually heard. And so it's got to be this mutual value agreement, before we're talking about, who's doing what by when, so to speak. So
absolutely.
I've become quite the advocate. I've taken every self-assessment out there, and, I love them all for different reasons. But this one, when you think about interpersonal communications and the level of conflict we're seeing out there, whether it's in the workplace or otherwise, this is a tool that you can really grab onto quickly and easily if you'll engage, if you'll do the work, right?
Absolutely.
So that's what I love about it.
And, communication is so extremely important.
It's so foundational.
It is the thing. And we have to take responsibility for what we are communicating.
That's right.
So much, so many people, they just blame the other person. Oh, you didn't hear me. You didn't hear me the right way. Yes. Well, no, you didn't say it in a way that was the other person could understand.
You hit the nail on the head. You've got to take responsibility first before you can assign and blame anyone else for their part in things.
Exactly. So tell us a little bit about your workshop, Drop the Ball, Do More of What Matters.
Yeah, this one's hot. This one's really, really hot right now. And I think it's because during this pandemic time that we've all been through together, the rule book got thrown out. And, we had to kind of rewrite things on the fly as we're going. And nothing could be more challenging than that, right? And so it's hard to know what to say yes to and what to say no to. And there's so many people that, again, are feeling like that hamster on the treadmill, that their work is controlling them rather than them feeling like they're in the driver's seat. And so this is really based on a body of work that is so powerful, because it brings together, in my workshop, a set of EOS tools, and literally give you the tools for free on what you can do to figure out how to do more of what matters. That's what drop the ball really means. We're all out there juggling, right? We got a million balls. And how do we know if we're trying to climb 20 mountains and we've got Everest and Kilimanjaro in there, and we can't even find base camp, right? How are how are we even, so this is really about us being able to focus, figure out what you need to be focused on, and then do it, focus on it. And so these are some real world practical tools and frankly, timeless concepts that anyone can grab onto. And so I highly recommend it. It's, again, I offer this for free for a lot of nonprofits out there. And then it's, it's pretty reasonable if it's a corporate training group or something to that effect. But, it's been very well received so far, and I'm really enjoying the work. And I feel pretty lucky that I get to do it. So, from that standpoint, bravo. Yeah, so that's the basis of it. And I do want to make mention, there is a book that's called Drop the Ball by Tiffany Dufu. And so I highly recommend that if somebody's interested, they can go grab that book and see if they want to learn more. So there you go.
That is great. And you know what? Yeah, the power of focus and what to say no to. And I think, honestly, one of the most powerful words that a person can learn to say in their vocabulary is the word no.
Yes. Yes.
And because, in your book or in your workshop, I mean, you're helping people to really, really get down to what matters. And, I think the problem is with, the lack of focus is people have said yes to too many things. They have too many things on their plate.
And then we get pretty strung out, and then we're not following through. We're not being able to hold ourselves accountable. And it's just a domino effect that leads to a lot of stress, a lot of pressure. And it's the antithesis of that resiliency that we're talking about. So again, this is one of the cornerstones of building resiliency. And so in this workshop, I literally give these tools away for free, because if I can help someone at this kind of foundational level, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I? So, one of them, I just gave this workshop about 2 weeks ago to a nonprofit organization. And, one of the attendees said, gosh, I wish I had this, a year ago, 2 years ago. This tool that I was sharing is like a personal planning tool, and it's simple yet effective. It's a 2-pager. It's not, 50 pages that then sits on a shelf and you never look at it again. And she said, if I would have had this, I could have had so much more clarity, instead of feeling like I'm, when you go try to cut through a forest, but you can't see if you're cutting in a zigzag until you climb the tree. That's how she felt. Was that she was just kind of going all over the place and casting this wide net to see what would fit, instead of really bringing it into focus like this with clarity and purpose. So yeah, it's powerful, really powerful stuff.
Awesome. Well, Emily, this has just been an amazing opportunity to get to know you and get to know what you do as a business owner. And I love your entrepreneur operating system, and your workshop sounds amazing, and your book, Growth Junkies Unite. And this is just, I mean, you are really helping people to really cut through all of the noise and get to the heart of what really matters to them. And so I really appreciate the work that you're doing in the world.
Bless you. That is so kind. That just lights me up. I mean, this is, good work that you're doing, and the fact that you get to share this with so many of your listeners. I just feel blessed to be a part of it. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. And you are also giving away a VIP code for this book, and a free 90-minute workshop to help people to improve their business. So that is a generous gift. People will be able to click on the link in the show notes, but let me just give it to our listeners here who are just listening in. It's growthjunkiesunite.com/VIP.
That's right.
That gives them
that's the discount code for the book. And then they can also get the free toolkit. I just want to throw that out as a reminder.
Absolutely.
And then, yes, the 90-minute workshop for how to run a better business and frankly, get to living a better life. So I hope people will take me up on it.
And they just get that just from going right to your website, growthjunkiesunite.com.
So Growth Junkies Unite is the book. If they want to reach out to me for the free 90-minute workshop, I can put my email address in the chat if that would be helpful. It's F as in Frank, Ransone, Ransone @gmail. So pretty simple here. And I'll just put it in the chat real quick. So it's also, they can reach out to me from my business website, which is tractionforgrowth.com. So I'm pretty visible out there. If you type my name in and Google my name, you'll find me for sure on LinkedIn or what have you. But I've just given my direct email address and then also tractionforgrowth.com. Thank you, Victoria, for putting that in the chat. Very kind.
Yes.
Multiple ways of getting a hold of me for sure.
That's amazing. Okay, so I'll repeat those. So you can email Emily for your free toolbox, and that is efransone@gmail.com, or you can go to tractionforgrowth.com and you can get that and the free 90-minute workshop to improve your business, which, I mean, it sounds like this is definitely something that could help people to, really dial in and get focused and improve your business. Because after all, why be in business if you're not growing and loving what you're doing and being, heart-centered and focused and all of that. So
100% agree. Yeah, we struggle so much. And if these are some things that you can do to make your life a little easier, that's what we're here for, right? That's the journey. So I'm just delighted that I get to be a part of it. I learned so much along the way.
Absolutely. Well, keep growing, keep being that growth junkie, keep learning. And that's what I also advise to our audience, power of the mind, just keep learning, because ultimately it's all about growing as a human being and applying who we are to what we do and becoming better in every single way. So thank you so much for being a guest on the Power of Your Mind podcast. It was
so fun, Victoria. So fun. This is great. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much.